Hello everybody, this is Make It Better, and today we're doing what Deku was the Ghost Whisperer Part 10. Before I start the story, I am saying this now. Probably won't be able to do it a long time, like an hour, but it will be a lot longer than 20. But the reason is because I had to do a lot of chores and, well, I'm basically slow on them. With that said, let's get into the story. Now, when Zuko is stepping into the ring and sees Todoroki on there getting ready with his stoic look, Zuko is just standing there, thinking on how to make sure Todoroki is use his both of his quirks. As he's standing there and waiting for the announcements and waiting for an idea to pop in, he finally found an idea. And when that happened, he hears the word go. Todoroki throwing huge glaciers of ice towards Zuko, trying to push as much as he can. Knowing that Zuko is strong, he needs to make sure he gets out of there fast. So he's doing this. Every time he throws it, it seems like never ending of glaciers going towards Zuko, and Zuko is phasing through all of them until the very end, where he heats up his arms of those glowing green energy. Heats enough of it where it shows well, a mold of him passing through the ice until he gets close to Todoroki. Todoroki is breathing heavily because of how much he's forcing out of ice. He comments on how Deku is not going all out. Why aren't you fighting against me with all your powers? Zuko does not say anything. He is just standing there and waiting for the next attack, which Todoroki did. He threw in spikes of ice towards Zuko, and since you can see them, Zuko's about in the arena. It shows that Zuko's on the one side, where Todoroki is on the other. Instead of him being in the middle, he's like one. And well, Zuko, did I say it? Is 3/4 on the arena, so they're very close to each other, almost like the classroom size from one end to the other. That's how close they are. Zuko is not saying anything. Only Todoroki is talking about everything. He talked about his past already, but he's still saying that he should go all out. He should go all out and and he will prove to everybody that he can beat him with his ice quirk. He doesn't say with his only, but he say with his ice quirk. Zuko's not saying anything, and he's just phasing through. I'm sorry, I'm just used to saying phasing. It's just I like Flash so much. I think intangible and going through every single attack of his. And when he's somewhat stuck somewhere, and he can move out, he just chose to stay there. He melts the ice. And this keeps going on until Todoroki is showing signs that he's starting to freeze up on his right side. Yeah, I had to look at the picture to see which side he was. Now, everybody is screaming, yelling, cheering on how great this fight is until the class somebody says it looked like that Zuko is holding back, and they turn to the rest of his friends and ask him what he's doing, what's his plan. They just shrug and don't say nothing. They don't know. But Zuko cracked his knuckles and said, "Now, are you ready for a real fight? You could either give up now, use up your quirk, or fight me seriously and I'll fight you as serious as I can." Which Todoroki is saying that he is not using his fire as loud as he can to make sure Deku hears this. Deku hears it, but he's not caring. He still looks at him. waiting for the fire. And he's in a stance like how he is showing right here, right now, but Todoroki is not doing anything. And until he says, did his father make him do this? Did Endeavor make him or bribe him or something like that to make him forcefully use my fireside? Deku nods and he says, yes. Yes, he told me to have you use your fire. Which really enraged Todoroki to make him use more of his ice. But Zuko did not finish a sentence, which Todoroki sadly didn't hear it, the rest. He kept throwing more, angered that a kid, his classmate, almost friend, agreed to use him, to make him use his fireside, which injured him so much that he's slowly using his fire. Todoroki doesn't notice this. He's still using his ice as much as he can until he stops and he notices that he's getting so angered. Hold on. So much that he's warming up his body, which he stopped immediately, looks over to Zuko and asks, what's going on? Why is my other quirk starting up? Zuko kind of jokingly said, I don't know. Why would it start up? Is it because you're anger? Is it because you hate how I answer your question? Which Todoroki is very angry, and it's showing on his face, which now the classroom sees what Todoroki looks like when he's angry. But his friends see Zuko being a very smart ass, as you can say. Until Zuko finally broke the character. Todoroki, I really hate your father. I can tell that he treated you just for your quirk, not even for you. Now, I will show you my true power as long as you agree to withstand it. I'm not gonna even force you to use your fire. That is all you. If you lose to this, it just shows how weak you are without your other half. Todoroki is screaming at him that what is he talking about? This is only my power, my quirk. I'm not using his side. Which Zuko said, huh. I always thought that you were smart. But now I learn you're very stupid. Alright, here we go. He cracks his neck. And he's charging up his plasma rays on both of his hands, having them glow. Just like this. It's glowing brighter and brighter, almost glowing in the night, but it's in the day. Todoroki is waiting for Zuko to throw a huge blast, but instead, Zuko starts flying towards him and throwing a few punches towards Todoroki. Todoroki is somehow dodging, but he feels the heat coming off of his hands. And they're like a few inches away, and he feels extreme heat, which is cooling he's making his body heat up a little bit more. Todoroki is taking advantage of this, and when he has enough heat in his body because of Zuko, he throws some ice, which Zuko actually punched the ice away, forcing Todoroki to move back. Zuko is having his body stay still because he can withstand the pressure. And, well, this goes on for a few minutes. Zuko throwing as much punches, kicks, charging up with heat, a glowing heat in his hands, showing Todoroki that he cannot beat him because of his ice quirk. He's saying this to him in his face. Every time he's closer to Todoroki, Todoroki is hearing everything. That Zuko himself, I have a quirk in my body that can go against your ice quirk. And that's why you can't beat me. That's why I held back. If you were using your fire, that'd be a different story. But since you're so stupid, so focused on one thing, you can't see the true weakness of your quirk. Which Deku finally hit him. He was hitting him everywhere else, but he finally hit him in the jaw, almost knocking it off, but forcing Todoroki to spin out of, almost spinning around, leaning to certain areas, but almost coming. He fell, basically, but he fell few millimeters away from the very line. Todoroki sees this, make a huge wall around that one side to make sure he won't break through it. But Todoroki is getting tired of this. He's getting tired of being mocked by Zuko to use his flame, over and over. And then Deku says this last word. It's your quirk. Use it or get out of this ring. Deku screamed this towards Todoroki. Todoroki remembers all the good things that has happened with his mother. All the true reasons why he wants to be a hero. And when that finally backstory ended, he start up his flame. Very pissed at Zuko for making him be like this. But he says nothing, looks towards Zuko, and threw a huge flame, like in a cannon, towards Zuko, which now Cementos and Midnight tried to stop because it's too much. He already destroyed half of, or almost all of the arena. Zuko finally gets the fire back, and when it's getting closer and closer from 3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, up to almost to his face where he can feel the heat coming, Zuko yelled. His ghost howl finally coming out, yelling towards the flame, making it go everywhere, pushing it back with enough air force that it implode like in cannon. The people in the background was covering their ears because it was such a huge yell, and it felt it was echoing into their ear. Till when it finally explodes, everybody got pushed back by the explosion. President Mike is saying, was that both of their quirks colliding, or? But Eraserhead said no. It's because the temperature was so low down there. The extreme heat made it explode in that huge of a cloud area. After a few dust is finally settled, Zuko is showing right there, almost not even phased, because he phased through after the attack. After the first wave of the shock wave, Zuko was pushed back, but he was not touching the line. He was still a few feet away, but he phased through the rest of it before it can pass through him. But Todoroki, with all the blasts, even the wall was already melted down, it pushed him back. He was off on the edge with the first wave, but with the rest of the explosion and dust and debris that was in the area, it pushed him, hit him a few times, but all the way to the wall, making a huge indent of Todoroki. And when the dust finally settles, showing Todoroki out of bounds and Zuko in bounds, they are yelling that Zuko Midoriya have won this battle, and at that moment, Todoroki fell to the ground. Zuko is standing there, throwing his right fist up and screaming into top of his lungs, to show everybody that he is there. After that, he stops. He looks over to Todoroki, and he walks towards him, picks him up, and take him to Recovery Girl. Now, all the other fights have gone through everything, and it's down to Uraka against Bakugo, and it's the same thing as always. Now, let's go back to Zuko and Todoroki. Todoroki is somewhat conscious, but he still can't move because of how much he's injured. Recovery Girl tell him to not move an inch or you will feel all the pain that's on your body as she leaves. Zuko breathes heavily, and after a while he gets into the room. He sees Recovery Girl leaving, but he asks if he can go in. She said yes, but do not make him move any of his body parts as she leaves. Zuko finally walks in, looks at Todoroki, and says, "Hey." Todoroki's not saying anything. Zuko replies, "Hey, I really didn't want to do that to you. I wanted to fight you fair, but I really hated how you were treating your quirk as if it was not yours. So promise this to me. Promise me that you at least will recognize your weakness." As he leaves, which Todoroki takes this in and thinks to himself, what weakness does he have? He has a fire and ice. His fire can melt his ice where he can reuse it again and cool off his body. But he still doesn't see his weakness is his choices. How he fights with his quirk is not gonna help him at all. Zuko, as he was walking away from the nurse's office, he was going towards the area. He overheard someone asking if anybody knows how to bake and how to make some cookies, which Satoru said he can. And he asked her why does she need to learn. She said it's for some personal reasons. Can you please teach me? Which he happily obliged. He's very used to having girls. Well, he usually gives sweets to girls, but he also was very well known in his school that he can make sweets for anybody and anything, and he's very happy with it. So Satoru is just a little happy that someone asked him and recognized how good he is with his sweets. She's all happy and made plans after all of this. Now Zuko, he was walking right past them. He felt some kind of chill, but he left it alone. Went to the seats and asked everybody how it's going. And half of them are saying that why did you hold back? While the other half is trying to defend him and say it could be because of this or this. And Zuko calmed them all down and explained that he was holding back this whole time. Pissed me off, and if he was going next against Bakugo, I didn't want him to go against someone that's so weak. I'm not meaning Bakugo. I mean Todoroki was going to go against someone and not go all out. But I did not expect myself to win. I was fully prepared to lose. But I guess I'm gonna go against you, Bakugo. As Bakugo smirks and said, "Hold on." It was someone else in the background saying, "Hold on. I haven't gone through mine yet. Who knows, maybe I'm going against you, Deku." Which Deku replied, "I guess good luck to you two." But I'm so damn tired. And he fell asleep right there on the seat. And when the rest of the class came in to take a seat, they see Zuko sleeping, which some of them promptly took some pictures, replying that they never see him act so relaxed before, so this would be a good time to take a picture. So they do. Every other match has already happened to the last one, where Tokoyami is going against Bakugo. Bakugo showing how weak he really is against light and his explosions. He promptly was done. He couldn't go any further without his quirk, which Bakugo just smirks, reach out his hand, and Tokoyami takes it and said thanks as they walk away. There's going to be a few minutes of break, 30 minutes of break for everybody to be fully healed and they're fully awake for the last battle. And that's Deku versus Bakugo. They do not talk to each other for this whole time to get focus for this fight. Everybody sees the tension and they're now placing bets on who's going to win, Deku or Bakugo. Until the match starts. Zuko is standing there, getting ready. Bakugo is standing there, also getting ready, not saying a thing. They both nod with a grin, a smirk actually. They both nod and they prepared. They heard the word go, but they did not move. I'll leave it at this part. No, the picture, not the video. They both get ready. When they heard the word go, Zuko charged up his energy blast as much as he can and start flying towards Bakugo. Bakugo's using his explosions, small bursts, and running to get closer and closer, up to the point where they're a yard away, and they both threw both of their hands up to each other as if they were going to high-five each other. Bakugo, with an open-handed palm, threw a huge explosion that the biggest he could have done with his gauntlets on to fully push Deku out. And Deku, not going to be using his intangibility, he chose to do this full out, using both of his hands, coming up towards Bakugo's hand, throwing a huge heat wave and a blast, pushing Bakugo away. Bakugo felt this, and so after that two collided, after that explosion happened, Zuko was not pushed away as much, but Bakugo was, thinking to himself it was a mistake to use only one of his arms. But he used his right arm again to push back and push the opposite way, where he won't be at the edge. He doesn't care how close he was. He's just trying to push away up to the point where he's not touching the edge. The dust finally settles and see both of them. Zuko getting ready for another. As Deku charge up his next attack, Bakugo is looking at this and thinks, can he really do it again? I thought he put his whole power in that last one. Which Bakugo is starting to shake in his right arm, using it twice with a huge explosion and then some smaller ones behind that. Bakugo knows that he's not going to be able to do it again on his right. So he grins, smiles, nods, and Zuko nods, and he did the same attack. Same thing, but with his left hand. Same explosion. Zuko was pushed back. Bakugo was pushed back, but he did the same thing. And he was staying in that ring, which is showing it to everybody that those two are not giving up, even showing their biggest attack, their huge explosion, and Serpentos can't keep rebuilding, which made the announcement tell them this will be the last attack. After that, they cannot keep going. Deku smiles and agrees. He looks over to Bakugo, and Bakugo is not holding up his hands like he usually does, but he smiles and agrees. So they both charge at each other. Zuko's not flying, he's running towards Bakugo. Bakugo's doing the same thing, and when he whips his arm over towards Bakugo, and Bakugo doing the same thing. Right hand to right hand, Bakugo was only able to throw a small explosion like he would have done in a training. But Zuko threw a huge blast in his hand towards Bakugo, which overpowers his quirk, pushing Bakugo away, all the way to the other side. And he tried to dodge it or push him away with his quirks, but it was too much for him. They're both shaking, and he's holding his hand, clenching into a fist into his chest because to himself, it hurts too much to use his quirk anymore. So he braced for impact. He touched the ground once on his back, rolled over, flying, about to hit the wall until he didn't feel it. He looks and opens his eyes and see he got held by Zuko. Not as if you were getting held exactly. Zuko was pushed, had it with one hand on Bakugo's back, enough, or two hands actually, to make sure Bakugo does not hit his head against the wall, because it looked like it was about to. But Zuko, against his back on the wall, and took the brunt of the force, recoiled his arms for it can touch his chest, and Zuko just pushed him back lightly, making Bakugo hit the ground. Until they say that Bakugo wins because Zuko's out, until they have to re-watch it again, which shows Bakugo touching the floor first, and then Deku touching the wall, making it that Zuko win, and everybody cheer for Izuku, Izuku, Izuku. And some of them are cheering for Bakugo on how great of a fight that he put out. And now, after all of this has happened, after Bakugo is healed up by his wounds, he has enough strength to grip onto the metal. Todoroki is third. He grabs it and thanks Deku and All Might. He gives it to All Might. Of course, he did all the great things, but I didn't really care for him to say anything. He gives one to Bakugo, which Bakugo shakily raised his right hand, very shakily, grabbed it, and put it to his chest. And he looks to Izuku and said, "Thank you for giving me a awesome fight." Which now the crowd is cheering because they heard all of that. Now, when All Might gave the last medal to Zuko, Zuko grabs it, tosses it up in the air, and grabs it again, showed the emblem to everybody, to the cameras, and said, "I won the sports festival." He's just happy about the whole thing and showing everybody how great of a sport he is. I'm going to end it at this point. A little bit more. Zuko and everybody else finally leaves, and the big three decide to go out and eat. Zuko, Bakugo, and Todoroki go out to eat, and Kirishima, Kaminari join in. And they all went out and eat up, seeing, well, some of them are chuckling at how hard it is to eat. They remember how bad they fought on it, which Kirishima is bummed out that he couldn't be able to go against Deku for the last battle, but it was fun going against Bakugo. Which they look over at Kaminari, and Kaminari said, "What? I took my piece. I got beaten by a girl. So what?" No, they're not saying, no, it's not that. Your quirk was not even a good match against her. You needed some new fighting styles for you to actually be against her, if you ever go against her again. Which Kaminari said, "Yeah. Oh, look, some food. Our food is here." Trying to change the subject. Now that's gonna be ending that part. until they get to their classroom. And I'm going to stop it at that point. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, bye.